Hi guys, and welcome back to Life of Posy. In today's video, I want you to follow along with me as I go to the Dollar Tree and find items that I can use to make a new dress for Miss Posy. So follow along and see how this creation comes together. I'm back from the Dollar Tree and this is what I decided on buying. I found these two bandanas and I went ahead and purchased them, as well as this navy blue bow. I think that I can make something really lovely out of these. But right now, as I'm looking at the package, it looks like there's two bandanas in one package. So I guess I got four, which is really great if I need extra material. Now that I've opened up the package of bandanas, there definitely are two in here. The first one is this pretty floral print with the blue border on the outside. And the second one looks like this. And I'm very pleased with this. I think that if we lay our pattern just right on this material, we can make our bodice look really neat. Or we can incorporate it into the skirt. I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking this will be the bodice and this will be the skirt. So you could make a dog dress for a small dog for very inexpensive using one package of bandanas because there's two in there. But like I said, I did purchase two of these packages. So if I need extra material, I have some extra here. And if you're making a dog dress for a dog that's larger than my dog, you could sew some of these together in order to get a bigger panel of fabric. I think that I'm gonna lay my pattern for the bodice up here so that this V shape will be coming down the center of her bodice. And then you'll see a little bit of the floral print on the sides. I'm going to actually lay my pattern a little bit beyond this point because I want that whole point to be showing and not sewn into the seams. So I'm gonna maybe go down about an inch lower and center it on here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pin it into place. Okay, I've got it all pinned into place, but I wanted to remind you really quickly, if you want to learn how to make a pattern for your dog using your dog's specific measurements, you can check out my video that I'll tag above and put in the description that teaches you how to take the measurements of your dog and how to draw this pattern out. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to need two pieces just like this. You can use more of the same exact material or maybe some other material you have on hand. Okay, I've cut out both of my bodice pieces. I cut out the back side of my bodice just out of an old sheet that I have, and I use it sometimes for projects like this. I've done it on other ones of Posy's dress, and it works just great because it's underneath and it's never really seen. So now, as I'm looking at this, I'm almost wishing I would have put the pattern a little bit lower so that this pretty little diamond shape, or whatever you want to call this, would have been more central, but that's okay. So I am going to bring this to my sewing machine, but first I'm going to take my fabric and turn it, this is the good side of the material, and I'm going to flip it upside down and put both of the good sides facing each other, and I'm going to pin it in place around here in a few places, and then I'm going to bring it to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch all the way around the bodice, but I am not going to stitch around the bottom. So only the sides up around the top and the straps and the side straps, but I'm going to stop here and I'm going to stop here. I'm going to leave the whole bottom portion open. Okay, so I'm going to bring it to my sewing machine and do that. Okay, I went ahead and stitched all the way around, leaving this bottom portion of the bodice open. A couple of little things I learned along the way is that this is pretty silky material, so I needed to adjust the tension on my sewing machine to almost nothing. And if you look over here, it's starting to pucker and ruffle up almost a bit. So around this point, I fixed it. So be sure to loosen up your tension because this is a silky material. But I think that'll come in handy when we go to gather our skirt. Okay, so next step, like always, we're gonna trim off these corners as close to the seam without actually cutting into the stitching, just to remove a little bit of bulk. And then we're gonna flip this right side out. You can also put a few little notches up in here, but I think this material is so soft that it's not gonna cause us any issues with being bulky or gathering weird. So I'm just gonna keep it simple and turn this right side out. Because this material is very silky and not the best quality material, be careful when you're using something sharp to push these little corners out here. I usually take my scissors, which can be dangerous to push them, but if you do it like I am, just be gentle. You don't want to rip the material. Okay, that looks great. You can take this to your iron and iron it if you'd like, but remember that this is silky material and it's not a very expensive material, so you'll probably want to use a low setting on your iron as to not melt the material. Okay, but I think this is turning out really cute. Moving on to the skirt portion of this dress, a little rule that I use that seems to come in handy is to just double the length of this whole bodice from side strap to side strap. I double that length, and that's how much material I use for the skirt, because when it's all gathered up, it makes a nice full skirt. So here's the other, I'm gonna move this aside. Here is the other bandana that came in the package. So for me, with this bodice, my second bandana is just about as wide as this bodice. So I just need to cut this bodice into 2 pieces and then sew them together to make one long continuous piece. And I know that for Posy skirt, I need an additional, I believe it's 5 inches. So I'm gonna cut about 5.5 inches to allow for seam allowance. So I'm gonna measure up 5.5 inches. And I really like this little blue border at the bottom. And the real bonus here is that it has already been hemmed, so I don't even have to hem the bottom. So I'm gonna go from the bottom and measure up about 5.5 inches. And now I have 2 strips that long, so all I have to do is take them, put them good sides together. You could cut this tag out of there too, that would be good. So I'm gonna face them good sides together, but make sure they're in the right direction. Both of my borders are up here. So I'm gonna lay them together, and then I'm gonna sew right along this edge, back stitching at the top and bottom. I started to sew these together, but I realized that this little blue border here would interrupt the pattern going across the skirt. So I'm gonna quickly take my scissors and cut this blue border off right here on both sides before I attach them. Okay, so now I will lay them back down, and now I will run a stitch line all the way up this side. Okay, I've stitched all along this edge, so when I open it up now, we have one long continuous piece of material. And when this is all gathered up, you will hardly notice that 2 pieces have been connected. So now I'm going to put it in the right orientation with the border at the bottom. My sides already have been hemmed as well as the bottom because the handkerchief came that way, or the bandana rather. So all I need to do now is gather this skirt. So on this top edge here, the raw edge, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and run a big stitch all the way across the top. I'll set my sewing machine to the largest stitch size, and I'm also going to adjust my tension to the largest or the highest number. So for me, it's 9. And I'm going to run it all the way across. I'm not going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. That way, if I need to gather it further, I can pull those strings. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. Wow, did that ever gather up? So this is probably too gathered, but that's okay. I didn't backstitch at the beginning or the end, so I can loosen it up or tighten it. So now I'm gonna take my bodice and bring it back out so that I can decide how much gathering I need to do or release. Now I like to make my skirt between the ends of these side straps. So from this point to this point. Now this, as you can see, is way too small. So I'm just simply gonna pull these gently and it's all gonna come undone a little bit. And I'm almost there. Let's check a little more. Okay, I can even bring it up here to double check, but this looks great. I'm happy with the gathering. So our next step will be to take this bodice and we are going to flip the back side of it up out of the way. We don't want it in the way because we don't want to accidentally stitch to the back portion. So with this pushed all the way up out of the way, we're going to attach our skirt. To do this, I'm going to take the skirt, which has the good side facing up right now. The bodice has the good side facing up as well, but I'm going to flip my skirt upside down on top of it, just like this. Then I'm going to take some pins or clips and I'm going to, all the way up to the raw edge, I'm going to pin this all in place all the way along the bottom edge here, keeping it between the side straps here. I really love using these little clips in place of pins when I do this part. I just think it makes it really easy. So pin all along the bottom edge in as many places as you think that you will need to keep it in place. Just adjusting your ruffles when you need to. And checking that you're keeping the skirt within the area that you want it. I've got a lot of loose strings here. I can cut those off afterwards or before I bring it to the sewing machine. Okay, I'm completely attached here. My skirt edge, the edge to edge is right between those straps like I want. So get rid of some of these. So now I'm going to bring it to the sewing machine and I'm going to run a stitch all the way along this edge here from end of skirt to end of skirt, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Okay, I'm back from the machine and I stitched all the way across here. Don't forget, because we just gathered this skirt with the tightest tension before we went to this step, you need to readjust your tension before you sew this skirt on, back down to the lowest tension because this will pucker and gather up if you're not careful. So I released my tension to a very low number, which ended up being about 1, and stitching across here, and that helped it from gathering. So now I'm going to flip it over, and as we can see, our little dress here is coming along nicely. I'm very pleased with this. This is really cute. So the next step is to flip it over. We got little strings everywhere, but we need to cover up this messy little bit back here. So after you cut away your loose strings, if you'd like, and get rid of all those, we can take this back material and cover all that up by simply bringing it down, folding it under one time until we reach this little rough edge here and have it covered completely. And then take a pin and pin this all into place, all the way across the skirt portion. When we get to the sides here, tuck under the bottom and top and pin those into place as well. And all the way along. Till we have it completely under, and do it to the same to the other side. All right, now that I'm all pinned into place, I'm going to start on one edge and sew all the way across this area to the other side strap, one strap to the other. And I'm going to try to get my stitch line really close to the edge here, but being sure to catch the material. Okay, this is all nicely stitched and clean looking back here, and it's nice and smooth. There's no extra little strings hanging out that will bother your dog. So if we flip it over, it looks really cute. So now we need to add some closures to the side straps. I like to use Velcro, but you can use whatever you like. I'll put the rough side on this side, and on the bottom side of this side strap, I'll put the matching soft piece of Velcro. And same up here on the side straps. I'm going to put the rough piece of Velcro here on the top. And on the back side of the other side, or neck strap, I'll put the soft piece of Velcro. And so now I'm going to bring it to my machine and just sew all the way around all 4 pieces of this Velcro. And as a finishing touch, I am going to add this little hair bow that I found at the Dollar Tree as well. It is attached to a little duckbill kind of barrette, but I'm pretty sure I can just deconstruct this carefully by cutting the ribbon in there. So I'm going to try now. Okay, I've cut right in here and I'm just kind of tugging, and I've been able to remove that little clip. And now I just need to re-secure these little pieces that wrap around the center. They're kind of sticky even from the glue that was on there. So if you just do this, and when you stitch it onto your dress, it'll be secure. I would have liked if this bow was a little bit brighter blue, but as you can see, the navy blue does run through this dress, so that is fine with me. And on most of my dresses, I put some kind of a ribbon all the way across the waistline in order to hide some of my wonky stitches. But because I'm using things that I found at the dollar store and I forgot to look for ribbon there, I know they have ribbon there, I'm just gonna put this bow smack dab in the middle, and I think it's gonna be really cute. So because these 2 little loose pieces of fabric are here, instead of gluing them back together, I'm just gonna be sure to go through both layers with my needle before I hand stitch this onto the dress. There, so I've got it secure because I put a knot in my string. I'm gonna lay this where I want, right about here. So I'm gonna come up the back and back to the top. Pull that tight. I've got my string doubled over so I won't have to stitch through this bow as many times. And then I'm gonna keep on coming through the back side of the bow until I feel like it is nice and secure. And then back through the dress. And then we will knot it off in the back. I think this has just turned out adorable. Who would have guessed that this material was a bandana from the dollar store, and even a barrette that we made into a cute little embellishment? I think it's great with a little extra supplies, your Velcro, some thread. It was very inexpensive to put together. Posey's barking over here. I think she's ready to try it on. Let me grab her. Okay, here we go. Let's slip this little number on, baby girl. That's so precious. I love it. I think that this turned out adorable. Posey looks very pretty in blue. You guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll go down to your local Dollar Tree or dollar store and see what kind of material you can find to make an adorable dress for your dog. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.